And it looks, are we streaming now? Hold on. Still says offline. Hey, we're good. Okay.
Oh.
All right. All right.
Oh, should we do Audacity?
Audacity. Let me see if Audacity is recording. Should be actually recording. Oh, it is recording. Good. All righty. Let's get this on the road here. This is Radio Sheridan, live from the historic Rogers Park neighborhood in Chicago, Illinois. This is the show about whatever the hell we feel like. On the panel this evening, we have
Julie Newman,
Charles Pagozzi,
and yours truly, William Bermudez. Well then, this is the very first live edition of Radio Sheridan. This is our, not counting our test broadcast, this is our second show overall. Oh, and yeah. Nobody, I don't think, is listening currently, although this will be archived for everyone would like to listen. Yep, we have 0 listeners. I will, shall we say, promote this show if I can find a share link or a streaming or a link to share the thing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see if I can find the copy video URL. Is this right? Hold on. Let me just play this here. I have to be very careful not to let's see, is this streaming through? Let me mute Firefox actually, so this doesn't like just play feedback.
We don't want that.
We do not want that. All right, let's see. Yeah, the only thing that should, I think, be recording right now is Audacity, and it is. So, or rather,
wait, is YouTube still recording?
It should be. I'm gonna check the web. I'm gonna check this right now to make sure we are live, and it looks like we are. Let's just wait for this to load.
Oh,
and we are live. Excellent.
That's so cool.
Okay, we are live.
And watching our own show.
Yes, we are watching our own stream. Nobody's watching right now.
No, right, that was
Nobody's
us.
watching. I'm going to post this link and see if anybody turns up. I doubt they will. But at any rate, and I will say this, I will read out the number. I mean, you can see the number on screen, but I will read it out on the air for anybody who is curious. Let me just post "We Live" on here. If it will load. Come on, Art. There we go.
If you tag me and Charlie, you might get more people to see.
Right.
I will do just
that too.
I will do just that. I will say that you are with me on here.
Of course.
Okay, this could be good. Okay. I don't think I've actually posted a link to the show on Facebook yet, so this will be interesting to see just who turns up on here.
Well, yeah, you can also advertise Facebook posts.
You can indeed.
Yeah, we were talking about doing that maybe.
We may do that in the future.
Yeah.
Advertise this. Okay.
It does cost money, though.
It does cost money.
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense, you have to spend money to make money, but then again, we could just like spread it out so just like people, as Ghost used to say, spread it around like wildfire.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, whoops, that's the wrong person there. Although he has been interested in the show. I mean, like he lives out of state right now, but I've offered him an invitation to the show if he does want to come on at some point.
We could do a call-in guest too.
Yeah, and he can call in, of course, if he wants. Let's see here, getting that in there, and we have this here. Let's see if this will load.
No,
oops, I misspelled it. I put your K in there. Charles Pagozzi. Okay.
Charles. Usually I type in Charlie when I need to find you on Facebook. I usually type in Charlie, and then it like shows up with other Charlies.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's Charles.
It's Charles.
Well, legally my name is Charles.
Indeed, legally my name is William, even though like.
But people call me Charlie.
Yes, indeed.
It's interchangeable, you know.
Yeah, just how Will and William are interchangeable.
Yeah.
All right, let's post this and just see what insanity happens.
Yeah. All right, we should probably.
Yes, and it is posted. Okay. Anyway, all right. So incidentally, I don't think I doubt anybody's going to listen right now. But at any rate, if you would like to have your voice, yes, your very voice on this show, call into us. Telephone number to dial is area code 872-760-3984. That is 872-760-3984.
Who's watching?
One person. It might have just been me who turned it on. But
they have this stream in the other browser tab.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. At any rate, let's talk about the news. What has been happening lately? Okay, to start off with, in the Edgewater neighborhood, just south of Rogers Park, there was, I believe yesterday, a carjacking gone wrong, to say the least. 5 people were arrested after a carjacking on, I believe, was the 5800 block of Winthrop, which is not far from where we're doing the show right now.
A little south in Edgewater.
A little south in Edgewater of where we are right now. That turned into a high-speed police chase down Lakeshore Drive. As a matter of fact, The chase went from the 5800 block of Winthrop to 5700 South Lakeshore Drive. So
I'd like to see a video. I wonder if there's any video of
there
that
may
anywhere.
there may very well be. Perhaps
Probably.
There may be.
Should I look for a video or?
Yeah.
If you want. We don't need to play it on
we
the
could
air.
like talk about where to
We can
find
talk
it.
about it. We don't need to play it on the air.
And then
really,
maybe
but,
post a link.
Okay. Yeah.
Post the
See,
link.
carjacking.
This is from the Sun Times, by the way, we're reading from.
Edgewater. Yeah, we can post a link.
Yeah,
to this,
we can do that in the
article.
description once we post it. But
Edgewater.
yeah. For those of you like, if you're not familiar with Chicago streets, but you are from Chicago, basically they went from like Edgewater, or the far north side, down to about the Museum of Science and Industry. That's about where the chase ended. So pretty much like clear across town. There are 5 people in custody. From what I understand, the car has been recovered, and
So the car was totaled?
I don't know if it was totaled or not, but I do know that it was recovered. I don't know whether or not the car was totaled. It may have just been. I think they abandoned the car, ran, and then were quickly found. Yeah. So.
It's typical.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that is the case. That like, it's like Steve Harvey when during the O.J. Simpson trial, he had a bit where he basically talked about like, if you don't know how to commit a murder, don't commit one. Like, if you know how to play football, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
don't commit. Don't kill your wives.
Yeah, don't. And don't like try to steal a car if you don't know how to steal a car.
Right.
Like that's just I mean, don't steal a car in general. But
Yeah, we're not advocating.
we are
that.
not advocating crime by any means. But
The O.J. Simpson's car showed up on an episode of Pawn Stars.
yeah, the Bronco. That's correct.
Yeah.
The white Bronco did show up on an episode of Pawn
Are
Stars.
they still making new episodes of that? I did. The old man died, right?
The old man
Yeah.
died. I believe Chumley got arrested on like some drug charges or
Really?
something.
Really?
That's what I've
Oh,
heard.
God.
I don't know like exactly what became of that,
Yeah,
but if
but-
I remember correctly, something of that nature occurred. I'm just popping
Yeah.
open a Heineken if anybody could hear that. Yeah, I could hear that.
Heineken's good beer.
It's a
Decent.
fine
It's,
beer.
it's Jamaican, isn't it?
No.
No, it's Dutch.
Oh, wow.
I
That
thought
I
it
was
was
way
German.
off on that
Yeah.
one.
Brewed in Holland.
Yeah.
Brewed in
Holy
Holland.
shit.
The only Jamaican beer that comes to mind is Red Stripe.
Yeah, that's really
Oh,
good.
fuck.
the one
Yeah,
that
that's
I know.
right.
Yeah,
that's
Red
right.
Stripe is yeah. It's like probably the most notable Jamaican beer.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Excuse me.
That was not me. That was
No,
not
it
me.
was
by the way.
me.
Anyway, yeah. So 5 arrested. Edgewater carjacking down Lakeshore Drive. In lighter neighborhood news on the north side, a piano bar is opening in Rogers Park.
Oh, shit.
It's actually like a European-styled piano bar. It's called Le Piano. It's going to be opening up on the, I believe, 6900
Oh.
block of Glenwood. And
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
66970.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going there. It's
How,
gonna be-
how does a European bar differ from an American piano
Well,
bar?
its style isn't like sort of like a Parisian kind of vibe to it. Very like sort of like small village type of
Okay.
bar kind of.
So, like, no ragtimey.
Not really ragtime. It's gonna be, I think, a bit classier in general.
Okay.
It's gonna be like not exactly Green Mill style because it's not gonna be like maybe 20s or
No,
going
no.
20s
Also,
style.
no copying the Green Mill.
Right.
Yeah, you can't copy the Green Mill.
No.
You really can't. So it is common.
Would that be a thing, though, if there was a ragtime bar?
I mean,
If you went into a bar in like, say, city of Chicago, and all they played was ragtime.
that would be interesting.
Well, we can
Like a saloon
talk
type.
about opening one. Just kidding.
But you know,
We were talking about.
speaking of which, there are 2
Oh,
people
shit.
watching now.
Who's watching?
I don't know.
Who's that one
2
person?
people watching. Maybe we'll get a call.
All right.
Great.
Well, speaking of calls, let me make sure Hangouts is open so you actually are able to talk to somebody in case somebody wants to call. Piano bar opening. That's going to be interesting to see. I hope it's thrives.
I'd be
because-
down to go to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this whole area, especially like Rogers Park and Edgewater, it's been gentrifying to an extent, but it's like I see like more so than gentrification. It's like people are starting to invest in this neighborhood now. That's a good thing to see.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, we have a lot of businesses around here like opening up. There's a lot of them are minority owned as well. Le Piano incidentally is not, but a lot of businesses around here. There's a lot of those of you who don't live in Rogers Park. There's a substantial like substantial Hispanic and Black populations, specifically Caribbeans. There's a lot of Jamaicans, Belizeans living around here, and a lot of them have their own businesses. You know, there's some excellent Jamaican restaurants.
Jamaican restaurant on Howard, right?
Oh,
absolutely.
there's one in Evanston as well.
Yeah,
I think it's called Jerk Chicken.
jerk chicken.
There's also Claire's Kitchen.
Claire's
on,
Kitchen, yeah,
Yeah.
on Emerson.
Fucking good shit.
I actually
it's pretty good.
I haven't been to that one, but I
It's
have
pretty
been.
good.
Okay, I've been to some other ones in Evanston, and they're very good food.
Damn.
Yeah, so there's some positive news about the neighborhood, at least. Yeah. I mean, incidentally, those of you who are curious about
the murders and
I was just about to talk about that. The Rogers Park murder. Yeah. The guy has still not been found. There has been. I actually went to a Caps meeting for Rogers Park the other night. There were, I believe, 230 tips. However,
holy shit.
Yeah, but there's as far as I know, has been no arrest up to this point.
I've heard they have FBI agents working on it.
They do,
It's
and as a matter of fact,
CPD.
Yeah, they have FBI agents, and they also have looked at the security camera footage from the. There's been a small amount of security camera footage from where the Watts shooting happened. Douglas Watts, the guy that got killed first, and the second shooting, I believe, was on London Loyola Park. There is some debate of whether it was related, but people seem to think it wasn't based on ballistic evidence.
Okay. Really? I thought it was the same gun.
I'm not 100% sure. There's been reports in the media that it was similar, but ballistic evidence, there's still sort of a debate based on that, as far as I know.
Yeah. We'll be reporting on that as more details come out.
We will. And incidentally, the Loyola Park shooting, they used these security cameras were very old ones. Were still recording on physical tape, and they didn't really show much. So
physical.
Yeah. They're my alderman referred to it as first generation cameras. So. Yeah, no, but I don't even know necessarily when they were put in. I would be surprised if it was 20 years old or something. But at any rate, so that is some update on that.
Well, I mean, okay. One thing I will say that it does get annoying if you go outside of Chicago and people call it Chirac.
Chirac or Chi Congo. You know what I've heard? I hate this name. Chi Congo.
Chi Congo. What the hell?
Chi Congo. It's a very racially charged.
I have not heard that one.
I have heard of that.
Thankfully, that's shitty.
That's a really shitty name.
Yeah.
I don't like that name.
I've never heard that name. Where have you heard that?
I've heard it in various places on the internet. People referring to it as Chi Congo. I don't like that name at all, but people refer to it as that. I mean, even Chirac, I used to call it that kind of facetiously, but even now, now I don't even like it.
It's kind of a bad taste.
It's a bad taste. It is. Did either of you guys see the movie Chirac with Spike Lee?
No, he got a ton of flack.
Yeah, I saw it. It wasn't even. This was back when I was living in Evanston. It wasn't even playing in the theater there.
Wait, when did the movie come out?
2014, I believe.
Okay, so a while ago.
Yeah, I was playing the closest. It was playing at the movie theater here in Rogers Park, so that's where I saw it. I could understand why people didn't like it. It's based on what's it called? Lysistrata.
Greek mythology.
Yeah, it's based on a play by Aristophanes called Lysistrata, where a bunch of wives go on sex strikes due to the Peloponnesian War. That's what the play is about. It was basically adapted to be a bunch of the gang leaders' wives going on sex strike as well, and that's for the slogan was "No justice, no peace," as in PIE, or no, not no justice, no peace. Oh no, that's a different thing. The slogan in the movie was "No peace, no pussy."
Oh.
Yeah. No justice, no peace. That's a completely different thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's what the slogan was in the movie. Was no pussy, no peace, no pussy. And in the tagline for the movie was "No peace, no peace." And first piece was spelled PEACE. The second was PIECE.
Oh.
Yeah. They and the movie was no peace, no pussy. But yeah, I could understand. I thought the movie was interesting. I found it entertaining, but I could understand why it struck a negative nerve in a lot of people because Spike Lee wasn't from Chicago; it's from New York. So a lot of people, yeah. So a lot of people were heavily critical about Spike Lee in particular.
Yeah, even if he was from Chicago, I don't know, sort of making light. I don't know if I would say I would call that making light, but it gets into kind of weird territory with gang issues, especially
it does.
Well, I mean, a lot of the gang issues come from poverty.
That's true.
The reason people in Chicago, especially if you look at those areas economically, there's no outlet for the frustration and anger. You live in a shithole. You don't have good public schools. You don't have any access to a better life. You're going to turn to gangs. For any kind of stability. The
problem is disinvestment in those neighborhoods. I've seen a picture of 63rd and I believe it was Halstead. Back in 1955, when this was a time when...
Oh, is that from Reddit?
It's been on Reddit. I've seen it other places. Basically, it's a side-by-side of 1955 versus 2017 of Englewood. And in 1955, Englewood had upwards of 90,000 people living there.
It was pretty poppin' too. It looked really nice.
Yeah, it was as poppin' as Lincoln Square or Lincoln Park or Logan Square is today. It was that big. It looked almost like downtown in a sense. Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a race element there, too.
There is. That was a little bit. That was as white flight was starting to occur in Englewood because let me see if I can find statistics.
50s.
Yeah. I'm gonna look up Englewood. I used to have statistics for this. I'm just gonna pull up Wikipedia right now because I think they mentioned like how racial things changed in Englewood over time. Because when was it? By 1960, Englewood was majority black. Let me see. And we're not saying that this is the cause for all the problems. We're saying like mainly disinvestment was. But white flight was a major part as well because with white flight causes the closing of a lot of businesses around there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just reading off Wikipedia here. In 1960, Englewood had 67,000 black people and 51,000 white people. Black people making up about 69% of the residents. As at the time, most black people resided around 63rd Street. And at the time, the median income of Englewood, adjusted for inflation today, was about $46,000. And then by 1980, the total population was about 62,000. So like 30,000 people left Englewood between 1960 and 1980. By that time, Englewood was about 99% black. Yeah. And again, we're not saying that like the reason why Englewood is so like why poverty strikes Englewood is not necessarily because the people there are black. It's because of the disinvestment that occurs with white flight, and as neighborhoods decline, the median income tends to decline as well.
Yeah, and education. I want to talk about charter schools. And
that's a good point. So the neighborhood, particularly the high schools in Englewood, this has been, in the last year and a half, this has been a major issue because there, until very recently, was basically, actually let me back up about 10 years. The Englewood High School, the original Englewood High School, I believe was open from 1875, I think, until 2008 because the enrollment there had just declined so rapidly and academic achievement had gone low. And in addition to that, there were a few other neighborhood high schools in the area. Harper, which had been in the neighborhood, I believe it originally opened in 1911 and was converted to a high school sometime in the 30s and was one of the larger high schools in that area. Also, Paul Robeson High School, which was formerly at 68th and Normal, that closed at the end of last year because there's a new neighborhood high school being built in Englewood. That one had been open for a long time. I think it was called Parker High School until about the late 70s.
Oh, we got a comment on our YouTube stream. Rick, this is probably in relation to the Pawn Stars. Rick says it's over. He's not doing it anymore.
Yes, thank you very much.
No, he's not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Metal Gear fanboy.
Yeah, thank you, Metal Gear fanboy, for that.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, that makes sense. Like, it's basically, Pawn Stars is basically over at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if Chumley went to jail and the Pops died, you kind of ruin any kind of any wholesomeness to it.
Yeah, any wholesomeness. And then, the Englewood high schools were in rapid decline in recent years due to the immense number of charter schools that have opened up.
Yeah.
If you're interested in this, I highly suggest you go to CPS.
It's still a very highly controversial issue, especially with Betsy DeVos, who is a major proponent of charter schools.
Yes.
One thing I would like to bring up though is like in a lot of like neighborhoods like Englewood and neighborhoods in Chicago that are dominantly of black ethnicity. That I personally believe it's true that there is a race element to that there is a mindset in that has always been there, an institutional racist mindset towards those neighborhoods, that they're black neighborhoods. Who gives a shit about them?
Yeah, it's a really vicious cycle.
Yeah,
the loop is more important.
The loop is more important. The north side is more important. The wealthier neighborhoods, in particular, are more important.
Yeah.
There are a few exceptions to that. I will say, for example, Kenwood, which is about 75% black. Like, that is a highly successful neighborhood because it's middle class.
What about Bronzeville? Is Bronzeville? I mean, I know at one point Bronzeville was a fairly successful neighborhood.
It is. Like, it's like 10 or 20 years ago, it was sort of dropping off, but it's almost like re-gentrifying in a sense, to the point where like it's like there's a lot of investment going into Bronzeville now. But like Bronzeville, I'd say, is generally a very successful neighborhood in Chicago. Let me look up just a quick map of the high schools. What I'm going to pull up now is the school locator. If you're interested in this, go to cps.edu, click on schools, and then you can open up the school locator from there.
Yeah, honestly, in my opinion, I think the biggest factor is not race, but probably poverty and income.
I agree.
Because if you compare places where there's rural poverty and places where there's urban poverty, it's kind of analogous.
It's different. Like in a city of Chicago, where historically the black community has been like disadvantaged by, like, purposely disadvantaged by the government. If you look at the First Daily, who built the highway to segregate the neighborhood.
He destroyed several neighborhoods by doing that. Yeah,
and those racist policies have had a systemic effect on, and still do today.
Yeah, and the reason, I was gonna say it transcends what Julian was mentioning. Transcends racial and ethnic boundaries. There are poor white neighborhoods, Hispanic neighborhoods, black neighborhoods. I would argue even Asian neighborhoods in Chicago, but
there are poor Asian neighborhoods in Chicago?
Really?
I would say maybe like lower middle class. I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, like working class. I would say, for example, like Little Vietnam. Well, Little Vietnam is pretty successful.
Little Vietnam. That's the thing. I didn't know that existed.
Wait, where's Little Vietnam?
Where is it?
Argyle.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
That parts of Chinatown are like better off than some others.
Oh, Chinatown is like out in the middle of nowhere.
It's
kind
like,
of.
I don't know.
It's
take the blue line.
Kind of south.
The red line.
Oh shit! Yeah, red line.
There's a red line stop like right in Chinatown, and there's like a green line stop a little bit east near McCormick Place. But anyway, I have the neighborhood map poured up. Like, if you guys, I'll post a link to this when we do the description. But like, this looks very gerrymandered. If you guys take a look at this, if you like, for example, this long strip going from the Chicago River down to 63rd Street. This is all for one school. This is Phillips High School, which is actually a fairly, I would say, not terrible neighborhood high school. It's located in Bronzeville. I believe that is just Pershing, which is 3900 South, and a little bit east of State. So it's like around 39th and State. We could
these neighborhoods, especially the further south you go, the more kind of gerrymandered.
Yeah, like let's see. Oh shit! Okay. Hold on a second. I need to get my charger. Can you get my charger over there?
I can get it.
Yeah, please do.
Oh god, shit. Bear with us.
Bear with us, please. We may go offline for a sec. Son of a fucking. Okay, we have just like it's under there. Just unplug it. It should be the only thing, or at least one of the only things plugged in there. Okay, we got it. Okay. Yeah, just unplug it from the wall.
How much time is there left on
10 minutes. It's like 7 minutes.
Okay, we're probably fine.
We're probably fine.
You don't need to run.
Yeah. Let me just get this plugged in. Julian, can you plug this into the wall, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Gotcha.
Here you go. And let me plug this into here. Yeah, we are back for the moment. This is gonna.
It's no nuclear drill.
It's no nuclear drill yet. Here we go.
Duck and
come
cover.
on. We're good.
Yeah.
Is it plugged in the wall?
Oh god, we're safe.
Home
run.
Okay, we are good. That was some pretty dramatic stuff there. Okay.
So.
Anyway, as I was saying, okay. So yeah, there are some neighborhoods around here that like. And this is not only a problem for and the reason we bring this up is because to connect this back to Englewood, the charter schools opening up just like siphoned many of the students that would have gone to their neighborhood high school, because one of the schools that's closed, Paul Robeson High School, within the former attendance area, there were there was something insane, like 3,000 or 4,000 high school age students living there.
Wow.
The enrollment when it closed was like 120 students.
Wow.
Yeah, like nobody was in those neighborhoods. Nobody was going to their neighborhood high school because it had the Those schools, not necessarily just Robeson, but neighborhood high schools all throughout the city, have a reputation of being like last resorts in a sense. Like if you can't get your kid into a selective enrollment or a magnet or a private school or a charter or any of the other myriad of options that exist, you just end up sending your kids to the neighborhood high school.
Yeah, I mean, William, I'd be curious, like, I don't want to say I'm a proponent of that kind of perception, but how true is that? I'm sure obviously some neighborhood schools are better than others.
That's pretty much it. It varies a lot. Like, there are some excellent neighborhood high schools in the city. Like, let me just pull up one, for example.
Like, would you say, I don't know, the quality of some of the better neighborhood schools is, like, as good as quality of some of the good suburban high schools around?
They're better sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me pull up the US
I mean,
News
like Chicago Select ones aside.
Oh yeah, even aside from those, let me pull up U.S. News World Report ratings. This is pretty much the general consensus on what the best high schools in the state are. Let me pull up the list here.
You could just like Google random ones, like look up Sen and Taft. And
let me just go down the list. The the ninth highest rated school in this entire city is in the entire state. Is Lincoln Park High School, and that is a neighborhood high school. That is the highest ranked.
And Lincoln Park is, like, for the record, is not Chicago Select.
It's not selective. They have actually, I should clarify for those of you who aren't aware of the school, they have essentially 3 programs. One is just the general studies program that if you live in the attendance area, you are guaranteed enrollment there. They also take students, as many other schools do, from around the city. If you get into the IB program, International Baccalaureate, which is basically like very high-ranking college
How many Chicago schools have IB programs?
A lot. It's like over 50, I think, if you include elementary as well. Yeah.
Including elementary.
Yeah.
What is IB program?
IB, okay, so basically,
International Baccalaureate.
Do you know what you remember what AP is, right?
AP?
Yeah, like advanced placement classes.
Yeah.
It's okay. Imagine that, but it's an entire program based around that, and it's even more demanding.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
God.
One of the cornerstones. Okay, so
you're supposed to be a kid, though. I don't understand. Like.
Yeah, and to an extent, like, you're not wrong, but it's like students who do that statistically.
Is it like the level of AP? Is every single class the level of AP classes? That seems kind of hard to believe.
Yeah,
like, why would you put your kid through that?
Well, and then also I would be curious to see about testing scores, because even I know that there's some schools where they try to introduce more AP, and I guess the student population was like not really up to it, so they don't do very well when they get tested.
AP, that's the case. Like, you do have to look in a sense at the test scores, but statistically, students who are in IB tend to be far more successful because it is like very high caliber students that are in that, like kids that can handle it. Like, it's not
okay, so it's like 1 out of every 100 kids.
Well, maybe not that specific number, but it is a selective program.
Very small.
If you had to give a let's say like Lincoln Park High School, if you had to give a percentage, like what percent of the student population is in their IB?
I'm not sure.
10%.
Or what about?
I'd say maybe 10 to 20. I don't know if it's that small.
Well, what's
about
the
20 to 30%,
general?
I would say.
Do you know what the general enrollment is?
Like the number, like how big the student body is?
Yeah.
I believe it's about 2,100.
Okay, that's a decent size.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger high schools in the city. I think it's definitely the top 10 in terms of largest high schools in the city. But at any rate, I should explain how it works. There are schools that are referred to as wall-to-wall IB, and what that basically means is all students are automatically enrolled in what is referred to for 9th and 10th grade as the middle years program. So basically, IB is a K through 12 program, I believe. It's not like traditionally organized by grades as we would consider it. It's organized by age levels, but typically how it works is, let me see if I get this right. What we would consider K through, I believe, 6th or 7th grade, someone correct me on this if they're wrong if you're listening, is called the primary years program. Then grades 7 through 10 is the middle years program, and then the selective enrollment from 11 through 12 is the diploma program, which is basically the capstone of the whole thing, including part of, like, basically the cornerstone of the diploma program is a class called TOK, which stands for Theory of Knowledge, and you basically write, I believe, a 4,000-word research paper in that course.
Shit.
Yeah, it's a very, like, that's sort of like the whole, like, tying everything together. It's basically a philosophy course in a lot of senses, but you do, like, pick something, a personal project, like extended essay sort of thing.
Did they have philosophy classes at ETHS?
They did. They had one course of philosophy.
They did.
Probably. I could look this up, but probably
Mr.
is.
Barry taught it.
He did indeed. As a matter of fact, I wanted to take
I regret not taking it.
I wanted to take it, but it filled up, so I got put in sociology instead.
Well, was it considered a history? Like,
yes, it was.
Psych? Yeah.
It was a history credit.
Yeah, I took AP Psych. That was a decent course.
Yeah, I took senior year. I took sociology and first semester sociology, second semester econ. Yeah. Let me look. I'm pretty sure. As of 2016, they did teach philosophy, so I don't really know why they wouldn't anymore. Let me go back to rankings here. So Lincoln Park's number 9. Let me just scroll down and see if I see any.
That's the one thing that always.
Most of these are suburban.
Many are, yeah. Let's see. Like Lindblom, actually, that's a selective enrollment, but it's number 11. That's actually in West Englewood. That's like traditionally been like sort of. It's a lot of people used to call it the Lane Tech of the South, basically the South Side.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like for a long time the only selective enrollments in the city were Lane and Lindblom and Whitney Young. They used to be Lane. Actually, the way it used to work, if you lived north of Roosevelt, you could apply for Lane. If you lived south of Roosevelt, you could apply for Lindblom. And if you lived anywhere in the city, you could apply for Whitney Young. Westinghouse selective enrollment also. That's another. Used to be a vocational school until about like 10 years ago. It was converted into a selective enrollment. Oh, Solo Rio, that's right. This is a neighborhood high school. It's in Gage Park. I think it's like 54th and St. Louis, I believe. So southwest side. Solo Rio Academy.
Okay.
This is a neighborhood high school. Doing pretty well, actually. It's a newer school. The student body, if I remember correctly, is like 95.
This is public. This is not a charter school.
This is not a charter school. This is a neighborhood.
Good.
I'll show you where it is on the map, actually.
Fuck charters.
Yeah. Okay, this small area. Yeah, this is right. This small area right here is Solo Rio. Where you see right here. I believe that used to be part of Gage Park High School, which is another school that's seen like major drops in enrollments, although not at the same rate as some other schools. Like by the way, I forgot to mention. I should have mentioned this at the outset. Is that right? Yeah, actually, let me think. Yeah, 4 actually. 3 neighborhood and 1 like sort of alternative school were closed in Englewood recently, or actually phasing out because of this new neighborhood high school that's being built to consolidate all of them. This has been a hotly contested move in Englewood because a lot of students are going to have to pass through several gang boundaries to get to school, and that's why a lot of people. That's why it was a very controversial move in part.
Yeah.
And like people are saying, like we have all these buildings that are quality buildings. Like let me think, 2 of the schools that are being phased out. Actually 3. One of them closed because like the enrollment was so low. The faculty decided to close the school because they understood the kids weren't going to be getting a high quality education. But
that's sad.
It is, yeah. 2 of like, including that, which incidentally was co-located. Like there was also a charter school in that same building. And that was also the case for one of the other schools. But those
man, that is terrible, having like a charter school in the same building.
There's a lot of schools that do that.
That's fucked.
Yeah, I don't like that practice, but there are a lot of schools that do that. All those buildings were built in like the 70s. So they're still like, for that area, they're newish buildings. There are high schools in the city that were built in like pre-1900.
Lane building's pretty old, right?
Lane was built that campus of Lane was built, I believe, in the 30s.
Wow.
Lakeview was built, like the central part of Lakeview where the tower is, was built in 1898. Wow. And then the side, let me think, how is it? The south wing was built, I think, in like 1915, and then the north wing was built in the 30s. So it was built in stages. Yeah, like a lot of Sen was built in 1910 or 11, I think, sometime around then. And then like one of the wings was built later on to help with overcrowding. But yeah, I mean, and the fact that these are these aren't like necessarily brand new buildings, but they're still newer than a lot of the other ones in the city. They're basically like phasing out these campuses or turning them over to charters. And in the case of Robeson, was actually being demolished to make way for the new high school. And this is a campus that was built in like 76 or 7, I think. Then they just like demolished like a perfectly fine high school campus to build a new one. Yeah. I mean, I understand that they need like some more room to build like a state-of-the-art campus. And the new building, I've seen renderings of it, and it is a gorgeous campus. It's going to look. I'm excited to see what it looks like when it opens. I may even sub there if I'm still subbing that year. But yeah, I mean, the fact that these schools are closing, and these are like cornerstones of the communities for so long. Harper was open for over 100 years before it started. It's being phased out now. It's still open.
What neighborhood's Harper?
The Harper is Englewood. That's
Okay.
or I think technically West Englewood. It's 65th and Wood, I believe, which is like 65 and South, 1800 West, which I think is West Englewood. But
so I guess to kind of like, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
I guess to kind of usher us into into a new topic, so we don't stay on this too long, is I guess in regards to what you said, that the trend in Chicago that public schools are closing and charters are opening up is something that should be said about society, where our values are changing, where I guess I don't know if it's more if people aren't aware, but I guess it's just.
I think some of it's definitely systemic. I mean,
right.
Look at who our Minister of Education, or not Minister, who's
I guess
Education.
It's more that these public institutions that education is at least in my view is a public entity. It's a fundamental right.
Public good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that especially in Chicago, where you have all these churches opening up, it just shows that at least as a society we are decaying. That view of public education being held up to the highest as a public need, a public necessity, as something good that you shouldn't make money off of.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting issue. We'll have to see how it plays out nationally and regionally.
And the long and the short of it is that, you know, just to connect us back to like disinvestment in neighborhoods, the most successful, like in a sense, and this isn't necessarily true for every neighborhood because schools vary based on neighborhoods. In some senses, a neighborhood lives and dies by the quality of its schools.
Right.
If you look at, let's say, North Center / Lakeview, the elementary schools there are like among the best in the state. Like they are better than the suburban schools. That's how high quality some of them are. Like if you think of Blaine Elementary, which is considered to basically to be, it's generally considered to be the top elementary school in the city of Chicago, if not one of the top ones in the state. But and those are like highly successful neighborhoods. Those are areas that are thriving because, you know, the people that live in Lakeview, if they're not recently coming there for college, these are people that have lived there for decades because they identify with that neighborhood. The neighborhood is bustling with life. It's bustling with business. It's bustling with public services, with recreation, with entertainment, with all sorts of things. And it's no coincidence that the neighborhood high schools there, the neighborhood high school Lakeview and Lane Tech just to the like in the North Center neighborhood.
Wait, is Lane's not a neighborhood?
No, it's not. Well, I meant like high schools in general, but the neighborhood high school is Lakeview, which is excellent. The select enrollment is Lane Tech. There is another school there called Alcott, which is the high school branch of Alcott Elementary. That's also fairly good. That's in Roscoe Village, I believe. The elementary high schools like Audubon, Blaine, Alexander Graham Bell. There's a few other ones, but those like the very successful schools are in Lakeview, and they're in North Center, and they're in like very highly successful neighborhoods in the North Side. And the fact of the matter is that when a neighborhood disinvests, the schools, when people leave, the schools often fall. They fail with that, with people leaving the neighborhood because like families are not sending their kids to those schools anymore.
People move to places so that their kids can go to certain
My
schools.
parents
I
did.
know, yeah.
My parents moved to Evanston in 1980. Yeah, my parents moved to Evanston in 1989.
I mean, ETHS is probably, I think it's one of the highest performing high schools in the state.
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
It is. It's not in this ranking because of incomplete data, but when it was easily in the top 20 every year because it's just such a thriving school.
Right.
At any rate, we've talked about education for a while.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about the mayoral
We
race?
spent long enough.
We have.
Sure. Yeah, I'm like not like super up on the mayoral stuff. But
Okay. Yeah. One thing I want to mention briefly, some of you may be aware that Chance the Rapper made an endorsement. There was speculation.
Now, who did he endorse?
He endorsed, what's her name? Amara Anaya, who is
I'll
sort
click
of,
on this article.
She is seen as a bit of a long shot case, but a long shot candidate.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's a shit ton of people. Right?
There's a lot.
Following speculation that he would run for office himself.
Yeah, like he would like
rapper mayor.
You know, Mayor Bennett. You know, but actually, no,
as long as it's not like some person that's like out of the blue, like is just a rookie to politics.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, evidently, Amara Anaya is the head of the Austin Austin Chamber of Commerce, Austin being another neighborhood.
Yeah, this is director of the city's Austin Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, she was, one of her core, like, things she wants to do is create a public bank for the city of Chicago.
That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
Has that been done before?
It's been done in other cities.
USPS used to be offer banking services.
That's true, it did.
Well, no, but like by city.
I'm sure there are cities globally that offer that. I know the state of, I believe it is North Dakota.
Well, I know there's like certain organizations, at least University of Wisconsin, there's a UW credit union.
Yeah, there's I'm actually considering joining it, the CME credit union, which is for public employees for the city of Chicago.
I do not like Gary McCarthy running as mayor.
Me neither.
He can go fuck himself.
Yeah, that's not good. You know who I think is going to win the election? I think there's going to be a runoff because there's so many candidates. You know who I genuinely think is going to win? William Daley.
No.
No,
he doesn't.
I think he's going to win.
Have a campaign.
I really do.
He hasn't invested any money in any commercials.
Who's that? I'm sorry, I don't know.
William Daley is he's Richard Daley Jr.'s brother. That's basically all you need to know, honestly.
I mean, that would that's just the way that politics works here.
Yeah, he's a machine politician, and honestly, there are so many Irish and Polish folks on the South Side. If they see the name Daley on a ballot, they're checking that box.
That's a long shot. I don't see a Daley winning an election after what they did to the economy of Chicago after.
Yeah, in terms of who else is running, there's Jerry McCarthy. There's Troy LaRaviere, who is the former principal of Blaine, and he was the former head of the Chicago Principals Association.
Is he good? Or?
He was people. People have basically called him a Bernie crowd, and if you look at his policies, he pretty much is. But he was kind of forced out of Blaine because the district was claiming he was using his office for political purposes, and there's speculation on whether that was true or not. But yeah, I mean, he seems to he says some things that I do agree with. Particularly, he's very much anti-charter school because he knows what it's like to be literally the principal of a neighborhood elementary school in Chicago. And a successful one at that, a successful principal at a successful school. So he's very much the pro-education candidate. I'm not sure if the Chicago Teachers Union is endorsing him specifically. I would have to do some research on that.
Who do you think of Toni Preckwinkle?
I don't know really enough about her to make that decision. I wouldn't be surprised if she does fairly well, if she gets second or third place, because she's at least a name that's familiar. What do you think about her?
I don't know much about her. I've just heard that she's kind of the moderate.
She's this kind of safe candidate, I would agree with.
Yeah.
She's been in politics for a while.
She has. Is Susanna Mendoza running for mayor? Do we know that yet? Let me see. There's been some speculation about that. She's the state comptroller. Let me see. Susanna Mendoza. Let's see here. For mayor, let's just see news. Because people are saying that she may very well run. Yeah, I have a Sun-Times article here from the 13th. Potential mayoral run by Susanna Mendoza gains steam. However, Cranes from the 16th says, what is this? Mendoza isn't yet running for mayor, and she's still leading the race by this measure. Let's see what measure that is. Yeah. Her campaign war chest is leading. What the hell? Okay, on September 30th, I assume this is for comptroller, Mendoza launched a $1 million plus TV ad campaign that will draw down her cash hoard. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. This is from Crane Chicago Business, by the way. Legally, Mendoza could finance a mayoral race out of her state campaign fund, or just transfer money from it to a new account, as Toni Preckwinkle has done. So if she does choose to run, she could fund her campaign by basically just taking money out of her comptroller campaign. I mean, she seems to be very popular. She won the last race. I remember being pretty handily how that she won the race for comptroller back in 2014, I believe that was, or 14 or 16, I don't remember. But yeah, she won that race pretty well. Anyway, yeah, so mayoral race, it's going to be interesting to see who stays in the race for longer and who ends up getting out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll be following that as more developments unfold.
We will. Let's talk a little bit about the governor's race.
Right. I don't. Has there been that much development in the last week or so? I don't think.
Okay. I guess my one plug on this issue is that the fact that. Granted, there are parts of this country that you have really decent people running on the Democratic ticket, like Richard Ojeda, who's a true progressive populist running in West Virginia. You still have these pockets in this country where you have these rich billionaires, corporatists running on the Democratic ticket.
Yeah.
Pritzker says shit in his ads, but that doesn't mean he'll do it.
That's right. Oh, excuse me. Let me kick that off there. That was just a restream there. But anyway, yeah, I was just to confirm we're still live.
Yeah, no, I got it up on mine too.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's the reason I bring this up because there was a Tribune article that basically stated this race was among the nation's most expensive just because it's 2 billionaires running,
not surprising.
funneling obscene amounts of money into their campaigns.
A rich man versus another rich man.
They're both obscenely rich.
Yeah. I'd like to call it the battle of the billionaires because that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Brown's a billionaire, right?
I heard 100 million.
100 million.
At least that's still a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. It is a lot of money. And, yeah.
It's God damn it, why couldn't the Democrats have... How did Pritzker beat the other candidates?
Because he ran more ads.
Really?
Pritzker
During the
is so
primaries?
slimy.
Yeah.
He's just scummy.
God.
Like the thing that kills me is I probably will vote for him, like just to vote for a Democrat. But like, I don't like him really as a person.
No.
Yeah. I mean, some of his policies I do agree with, but
that's all based on an ad.
It's based on an ad. What he says he's going to do. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that the Green Party isn't running anybody this time around. You know, has
there been much Green Party success in Illinois historically?
No, there hasn't been.
Has there been much Green Party success anywhere historically, like outside of like
There's
Vermont or something like that? I don't know.
The thing about it is because of Citizens United, you need money to run any.
You do.
Yeah, well, but even before Citizens United, I mean.
You know, the Green Party is fairly successful in other parts of the world, just like green politics in general is fairly successful.
Yeah, I know they have something in Germany.
Yeah, and New Zealand is also pretty popping there.
Yeah.
Well, and politically it's different too. If you look at it, it's a different type of democracy. It's parliamentary democracy instead of just...
Yeah, there's no first past the post, no electoral colleges.
Right.
In general. Yeah.
I do not like
electoral college is such bullshit.
Yeah, it's a vestige of slavery is what it really is.
Yeah.
Why I don't understand why this country, I guess this America, why it shouldn't be just a pool of if we have 5 political parties in this country, I don't see why that, at least for Congress, you shouldn't be able to, it shouldn't be more diverse instead of just 2 parties.
Charlie, I don't think I understand.
I guess instead of our I guess our elections becoming winner takes all, why not it become just kind of a pool of
more I forget what the political term for that is, like a representative, not a representative, maybe.
Let's see.
Democracy.
Representative democracy, is that the term you're looking for? Or
maybe. I understand. I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like a voting system where you vote for a party as opposed to like a specific candidate, and then it's the party.
That's true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to worry about who the party is going to nominate as the representative. Because
that brings up a whole other host of issues, especially in a country where politics is as fragmented regionally and ideologically as it is in the U.S., it would be kind of hard to be like, okay, well, I'm going to vote for the Democrats, but, the Democrat in X state could have a completely different agenda. Like, a Democrat in West Virginia getting elected to Senate or Congress is going to have a completely different agenda than a Democrat in, like, Illinois would.
Or Washington State.
I just think if we have more parties that you could elect from, you wouldn't have this convergence of power into 2 main political parties.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think we would have to, in a sense, we would have to get rid of the electoral college at the federal level in order for that really to take place. But at the same time,
I don't see that happening.
I don't see it happening, and the reason why is because they would not only would it require a constitutional amendment, you would have to get 38 states to give up that kind of power. Like Wyoming, for example, I don't think they like that.
They would never vote for that.
No, they wouldn't.
Like any of the Dakotas, like
Montana.
Yeah, those states where like no one lives.
Yeah, you would not be able to get those states to sign on to that.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't. I mean, it's
even Republicans like in the South, even where people actually, I shouldn't say this, but like let's say where more people live, they probably wouldn't sign on it either because they understand the sort of strategic importance that those kind of isolated plain states have, because they usually go red. I read or saw somewhere that if you just by pure weight, someone in Wyoming's vote counts 5 or 10 times as much as someone in California's does.
Yeah, and if you look at
which is really not fair at all.
Yeah.
I guess it stems to the point that hypothetically, if we got rid of the electoral college and went to a popular vote, then basically all our presidents would be Democrats in the near future.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe.
many Republican presidents. Let me think: Trump, Bush Jr.
Yeah, against Al Gore.
Yeah, many recent elections. Actually, I shouldn't say many. There have been elections.
A handful.
A handful where the popular vote candidate did not win because of the Electoral College. 2016, 2000, and I believe before that, a few others. I think there was one of them in like the 20s, or not the 20s. There have been a few others. I don't remember the exact ones. I don't remember the exact years, but there have been several elections where the popular vote candidate did not win because of the Electoral College, and that's mainly been because of certain areas where there are very few people living that can shift the vote a certain way.
Then I guess that, you know, knowing that at least the discussion in this country that should start is that I guess, yeah, I don't know, I feel our political system is biased towards people in rural areas who claim to say that the Electoral College makes it more balanced, but really there is a race element there that at some reason there is resistance from the right in this country to
Okay, I see what you're saying.
base the results of our elections on the popular vote because of race issues. That all the cities would determine our politicians. Well, because cities have more diversity.
Yeah, it's a code word. It's a code word
live
for
in cities.
Yeah, it's a code word for, like, city in that sense is a code word for places where a lot of minorities live.
Right.
In a lot of senses, and
that's not a discussion we have in this country.
Right, and there is a certain irony of the fact that two of us are white males that are talking about this. I mean, I'm Puerto Rican, but I'm like in a sense racially white anyway. But even so, like, we are still able to recognize that there is racial inequity in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, to think about, I don't know if you guys have been following recent allegations of election fraud, particularly in Georgia, when like hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, it's other places too, in North Dakota against Native Americans.
Yeah.
Really?
Populations.
That was, I believe, that was Brett Kavanaugh's first decision on the Supreme Court. That particular thing, where basically, they upheld the if you live on a tribal reservation, the USPS, the Postal Service, gives you a post office box as your address.
Okay.
You are not allowed to register to vote from a PO box.
Because technically you don't have
Correct.
federal mailing address.
Yes.
Bullshit.
Because a PO box is not a residence, and you need a residential address to register to vote. So they essentially disenfranchised potentially millions of Native Americans by doing that. I don't know about millions.
Probably not millions, maybe like tens of thousands. But in a state that's as small, where the population is as small as North Dakota, tens of thousands is a lot.
It's a lot, and I don't know if that maybe applied to other reservations in other states as well. So that's why I said potentially a high amount.
Right. Yeah, if it was the Supreme Court, it could be precedent.
Yeah, that could set a precedent to basically disenfranchise mass amounts of Native Americans.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope that sanity prevails in some of those rulings, but I'm pessimistic about that. All right, so that is
Here's some more Kavanaugh.
I don't want to talk about Kavanaugh.
The one thing I'll mention is that let's not. I do want to mention that Dianne Feinstein said that she supports reopening the investigation after the midterms, but that's all I really need to mention about that.
Well, yeah.
I'm not very confident that
nothing's
an investigation is going to happen. I mean, Mueller hasn't really.
If Congress goes blue, they might run an investigation.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's an assumption that if Congress turns blue, they'll impeach Trump.
Also, there's the assumption that the FBI is going to care enough to do a legitimate investigation, because Rod Rosenstein was interviewed about the, whatever investigation that, I don't want to say they pretended to do, but whatever investigation that had gone on in the week after Senator Jeff Flake says, okay, we let's give it a week, or give them a week or whatever to do an investigation.
Such bullshit propaganda.
It was a really, really kind of weak, not very thoroughly conducted investigation. And yeah, Rod Rosenstein went on air, or he was interviewed somewhere, and he said, oh, like, don't worry, it'll be a very thorough investigation. Like, we'll do all we can. And like, I don't think they did all that they could. I really don't.
No.
I think it was kind of a sham. And yeah, I mean, who's to say if they do another investigation like that the FBI is just gonna, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like there is the potential for them to just half-ass it again. And
The moral decay of this country.
The moral decay of our politics, perhaps.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
not necessarily of the average American. but
Right. That's
political system at least, yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about some financial news. I believe Charlie wants to talk a bit about Chris Hedges.
Yeah, Chris Hedges. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, and if you follow him, he's very dark and negative, very depressing. But I guess in a sense, he's not very wrong. I mean, he's very rarely ever wrong.
Well, what kind of stuff does he usually
I
write
mean, mostly
about?
economics.
Okay.
He's famous for covering the economic collapse of Yugoslavia, and it's not just him, but
Yeah, I'll look him up.
I guess a lot of economists say that the next economic collapse in this country that it's inevitable, but it's like an earthquake. You know it's going to happen, but you don't know when.
Also the host for a television program on Contact on RT.
On RT.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Well, I mean, you got to take them with a grain of salt, but I mean, some of the facts that he points out is that the next economic collapse is going to be worse than Wall Street. It's going to dwarf Wall Street and the 2008 financial collapse, because you have to take into consideration the $13.2 trillion in U.S. household debt, the $1.5 trillion in student debt, and how he brings up companies have bought back stock buybacks at a 0% interest, and how when that next collapse occurs, Congress won't be able to raise the debt limit. There's just going to be too much there's going to be the whole system is going to break down, and you're not going to be able to find a financial solution to coming up with the trillions of dollars in combined debt of both student loans and the housing bubble.
Wait, he's an interesting study from his
He's a Presbyterian
bio.
minister, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Here, I'll read out in like a couple paragraphs in the bio. In 2001, Hedges contributed to the New York Times staff entry that received the 2002 Pulitzer Prize for explanatory reporting for the paper's coverage of global terrorism. He also received the Amnesty International Global Award for Human Rights Journalism 2002. He has taught at Columbia University, New York University of Toronto, and Princeton University, where he's a visiting lecturer in African American studies, which is interesting. He's not black. Hedges has taught college credit courses for several years in New Jersey prisons. He teaches a course through Princeton University in which the class is composed of half prisoners and half Princeton undergrads. So that's interesting. He has described himself as a socialist, and more specifically as a Christian anarchist. Okay, this seems like kind of Wikipedia wormhole that we could go down at some other point. Identifying with Catholic activist Dorothy Day in particular. Okay.
Okay.
So he's, I guess he fits into the realm of, I can't think of the term, liberation theology. That's
Okay.
kind of the realm he fits into. But I guess in terms of him going to seminary school is, I guess based on the current economic conditions and the possibility of an economic collapse, he says that one nightmare scenario that's very possible is that the global economy will go into a death spiral, and a firestorm will erupt across this country, and all this mass anger towards the politicians will kind of cultivate into a right-wing Christian fascist movement in this country that has been seen as, you know...
That seems kind of alarmist.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I guess some signs of people bucking the system is Trump. Trump is a system, is a symptom of a system where people are sick of it. They don't like the politicians. They're angry at the system.
They want somebody that they identify with.
Right.
Yeah.
And at least they think they identify with.
A threat.
Yeah, I mean, the irony of a billionaire, like people who are like poor overall electing a New York billionaire. But anyways, yes,
a presence that can become very threatening in this country is the far-right Christian movement. And that's... and Mike Pence kind of is representative of that entity. That Mike Pence could actually be worse as a president than Trump. Because Mike Pence is from that realm.
Mike Pence...
of right-wing Christian supremacy.
Mike Pence I could potentially see being worse than Trump, because Trump is not really... Trump isn't necessarily able to get mainstream politicians to fall in line with him. Mike Pence is about as mainstream as he gets on the right, so he would get a lot of people to fall in line with him very easily.
Really?
I think he could.
I mean, yeah, I think, well, like, one, he would have a better chance of doing that just because his command of rhetoric and, like, reasonable experience in politics is a lot more than Trump's is.
People, I think, would see him as a second Reagan. Like, people that respect Reagan, I think, would compare him to that.
Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, like, the fact that he is very, like, he was governor of Indiana before he was president. I remember Mike Pence before he was president. Like, I remember when I heard, like, Mike Pence was being nominated, like, I figured, like, that wasn't really, like, a surprising move. Like, he's a very, like, very bland, Midwestern, social, arch-conservative, very, like, that's like a
white guy. And
bland as a bagel, pretty much, yeah, like, pretty much is, I mean, he's your garden variety Midwestern Indiana Republican.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is basically, I think that's how he was able to get some more moderate Republicans in line with Trump. Like, there were a lot of people, I think, that like would think like there's no way in hell that I'm voting for Trump, and they were Republicans, like people that supported John Kasich or Ted Cruz in 2016.
So that could play towards having picked Mike Pence. That could have sort of played towards the. More like not fundamentalist, but more kind of religious, right?
Yeah, the evangelical right.
Yeah.
Well, fascist, right?
Not well.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, if you look at, I guess globally, the rise of far right fascism. If you look at as recently as the Proud Boys using violence against protesters.
Well, the Proud Boys aren't necessarily Christian, though.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that.
They're basically. Are you familiar with Gavin McInnes at all?
I don't think so.
Okay, basically the Proud Boys. I can just look up a quick lookup of them. They aren't inherently Christian in nature, but basically what the Proud Boys are. I'll just read the description. This is from Wikipedia. The Proud Boys is a far-right organization that admits only men as members, with a presence in the U.S., Canada, Australia, and the U.K. Was started in 2016 by Gavin McInnes, emerged as part of the alt-right, but in 2017 McInnes began distancing himself from that. Basically, it's been termed alt-light, and this basically mean like perhaps like not as like a like truly like neo-fascist, neo-Nazi.
Like fascism,
diet fascism. Diet fascism, yeah, fascism 0 calories. With rebranding, basically they tried to rebrand themselves after the Unite the Right rally, which I don't know if they themselves were involved in it. They may very well have been. They are classified as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. It does not support, like, the group itself is not the white supremacist, although some members may appear like white supremacist rallies. So it's not like a core tenet of the group, like white supremacy.
The assumption with any far right group is that it is white supremacist.
You know,
if you're talking about if you talk about far right,
I wouldn't go that far.
Philosophy, you're talking about fascist ideology, which is racist.
I mean, not necessarily. Well,
not necessarily.
Because there have been far right politicians outside of places like America and Western Europe.
Yeah, where like, okay, I would say this. in many cases,
Pinochet and
Pinochet.
Yeah.
I would say ethno-nationalism in general is a big part of it in a lot of senses. Not even necessarily white nationalism. And to be fair, there is a difference between white nationalism and white supremacy.
Okay.
Like, white nationalism means you want a white homeland, basically.
Well,
you want a specific nation for white people. White supremacy
it depends on what country you're talking about too, because if you're talking about like Serbia, who has like, you know, they have a very like proud ethnic history intertwined with a lot of other stuff, versus you're talking about America, like people who, you know, their ancestors came here like 250 years ago. They have like no fucking idea exactly like where.
Yeah.
You know, they're definitely, there is a difference.
Yeah. And I mean, white supremacy means you specifically believe that whites are superior, and you don't necessarily have to be a white supremacist to be, you don't necessarily have to be a white supremacist to be white nationalist. Like if you want a white homeland, you don't necessarily have to be a white supremacist.
And you don't have to be white to be a nationalist.
That's
either.
correct.
I will have to say that like Proud Boys and all these other alt-right groups are a reaction to this country changing, where the white majority is declining, and
demographically, it's
I will say that there is a relationship between the far-right Christian movement and them, because both of them hold the same goal in mind.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Of restoring America to this Christian white nation.
The irony is that America was not founded as a Christian nation.
It was not. As a matter of fact, there were parts, even in colonial times, there were parts of the U.S. that were majority black because of the slave populations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, America was like, it was founded with whites in power, but it was never founded as a solely white nation because you had pretty much everybody coming over here in the late 1800s.
But its policies were still white supremacist.
I agree with that. Like the policies were very much geared towards white landowning men.
Yeah.
But America sort of took over the place of somewhere like England in the 16th or 17th century, where basically everybody that wasn't fitting in their own home countries was going there. Like you had Dutch, you had Irish, you had English, French, Scottish, Welsh. You had all sorts of ethnicities coming over to America, and especially the early to mid 18th century. Germans in particular. As a matter of fact, Americans of German ancestry, the German ancestral group is the largest actually in America.
In the Midwest.
Yeah, especially in the Midwest. But due to basically it's suspected there's been undercounting of people with English heritage in America because a lot of people just mark down American on the census because they've been here for so many hundreds of years. But
I mean, that's not going to be accurate in the future, the census.
Census?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Oh, we could talk about the census.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
The Trump administration was floating the idea of making people write whether they're citizens or not, which is
that's gonna destroy any results you get.
It's a horrendous idea. If you want to take a census, don't make people be scared to be sent.
I mean, people are gonna lie about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, one, people are gonna lie about that.
Right.
Two, it's gonna skew the results if they put it on there.
Right.
Yeah. I need to.
We're on Snopes right now.
Yeah, because there's been I believe it was Sarah Huckabee Sanders that claimed the citizenship question was on the census for a long time. But I need to see. Okay, it's misleading to claim that the citizenship question was quote removed from the census in 2010. It was a standard question on census forms through 1950. Then, for unexplained reasons, was omitted in 1960. For everyone,
want to get more accurate counts.
Yeah, for everyone except residents of New York City and Puerto Rico. Beginning from 1970 continuing through 2000, the Census Bureau used two different questionnaires to gather information: a short form sent to 80% of American households that didn't inquire about citizenship, and a long form distributed to fewer than 20% of Americans' households, which did. That long form was discontinued after 2000, so in 2010, every household received the short form, meaning in effect that no one was asked for citizenship.
Well, I mean, also 80% versus 20% versus sending one to every single person in the country that has a question on it.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to lie about that. There's still, it's not going to change anything because there's still going to be a massive undercounting of who is a citizen and who isn't.
And one, they could lie about it, and two, it could encourage them to lie about other things because they don't because if it's like film like Hispanic, they might not want to film Hispanic because
Right.
it just seems like a bad
I mean,
idea.
it's because I'm of Puerto Rican descent and because I was born here and my dad was born here, I'm going to put down that I'm Hispanic and that I'm Puerto Rican when I fill out my census, just for an accurate count, just for the sake of an accurate count.
Yeah.
There, like, people have claimed in the past that legally, like, this is not true because there's U.S. code that relates to this. There have been people that have protested the census in the past, and they say legally the only thing they can ask is how many people live there. That's not true, because although that is, like, people have argued, like, constitutionally, that's all I can ask because that's what's described in the Constitution.
Oh.
There is U.S. code that specifically says you will be fined if you submit an incomplete census form.
Really?
Yeah.
It seems like one of those kind of
Yeah, but I mean,
like
there's no way they can enforce that.
Yeah, that seems kind of unenforceable.
Yeah, it
like that,
pretty
like
much
people,
is.
like people aren't gonna write their names on top of their census.
That's like saying, okay, if everyone defaults on their student loan, there's no way the debt collectors are going to be able to.
I mean, they're not, but at the same time, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna try it. I owe probably at this point I owe less than I did. I owe probably about $41,000 or $42,000, and I'm not gonna default on that. I mean, you're not wrong though. It's unrealistic to think that if every single one of us defaulted at the same time, I mean, it would create like a massive like economic quagmire. But at the same time, it would. I wouldn't do that.
No.
But at any rate, since like the census asking that question is really not going to change anything in terms of like how undocumented people are going to be counted, because they're just going to lie.
Yeah.
If I were undocumented, I'd lie about it, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Alrighty.
That's like taking a health survey, and if it asks you like, do you have HIV?
Yeah, you may be inclined to lie about that.
Right. There's stigma associated.
There's a stigma associated with that.
Well, yeah, and it depends if it's anonymous or not.
Right.
Like,
That's true.
I've heard that like there were a lot of when they were doing the polling for the 2016 elections, a lot of people said that they would vote for they were going to vote for Hillary. And then, they voted for Trump because they didn't want to admit that they were voting for Trump.
Perhaps they were afraid of
anyways.
Perhaps they were afraid of ending up on a list somewhere.
I see.
I mean, maybe,
I
who
don't
knows?
know. Yeah.
But-
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, see Michael Moore's new film. It's good.
Okay. I will.
Fahrenheit 11.9. See it.
11.9. I will consider that. All right. In other financial news, I want to talk a little bit about Sears, how they're essentially collapsing, because the CEO stepped down, and the corporation, after 132 years in existence, is filing for bankruptcy. There are Sears closing everywhere.
Which chapter bankruptcy?
I don't remember.
Chapter 11?
I think I don't remember. I have to look it up. Check the article.
What's the difference between?
I forget. I used to know this. There is a difference. I think it has to do with like to what degree like you lose your assets or something.
Part of the bankruptcy, Sears will shutter 142 stores towards the end of the year.
Including the Niles one over Gulf Mill, which is actually already showing store closing signs. Let's see. Wait, I'll go up a little bit. I think I saw it. Chapter 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean then?
Oh gosh.
I can Google it.
Let me look. I'll look this up real quick. You got it.
Let's
okay.
inform our viewers.
Chapter 11, okay, that's fine. Chapter 11 versus Chapter 7, you could Google, but
what is the difference between Chapter 11 and Chapter 7? The main difference between Chapter 7 and 11, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's assets, yeah.
Okay.
But you can go ahead and read it. You can read it if you want.
The debtor, it's Chapter 7 bankruptcy filing. The debtor's assets are sold to pay off the lenders, whereas in Chapter 11, the debtor negotiates with the creditors.
Okay,
so you don't have to liquidate under Chapter 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank goodness I don't have Sears stock. I have Ford.
Oh God.
I have Ford stock, but I don't have Sears stock. Oh boy. I mean, actually, no. I bought my Ford stock like when they announced because of the tariffs. They were like a bunch of people off, so I got it low. But we'll see.
That's another thing that could cause the economic collapse.
What?
Tariffs.
Tariffs, yeah.
That could blow up our economy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trump's starting trade wars.
Because they're easy to win after all, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Another thing I want to mention about Sears. They, for many, many years, it was almost a part of Americana at one point. They had a special catalog they put out each year called the Wish Book. It was basically published each Christmas season. It was really the only Sears catalog that had like a substantial toy section in it. Basically, it was like to do your Christmas shopping, essentially. This was pre-internet. I believe it started sometime in the 1930s or 40s. It was printed continuously until I believe 1992 was the last one. They brought it back last Christmas, actually. I believe it was an online-only version, but they're not doing it this year. So after a brief revival, the Wish Book is getting discontinued once again. I think I have an old Sears Wish Book somewhere. I'd have to look for it, but I think I do have one. It's like 700 pages long. It's just like a bunch of like old shit from the 90s.
The one we were like browsing through last time.
Yeah, that one's that's the 1902 one. The 90s one actually has like Laserdisc players in it. Yeah, it has some like kind of cool old electronics. It has like a Super Nintendo for like $90. Wow. Yeah, fun stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the end of Sears. I have to wonder what department store will be next. If I had to make a guess, I would say, oh god, I don't even know which. I don't know.
So Sears, the whole business would go out.
Yeah, I think Sears was probably mostly due to poor management.
And Kmart also. Sears Holdings also owns Kmart, so that would go under.
That's almost.
I didn't even know if Kmart was still in business.
There are a few. There is one.
The ones that I like. I think there was there one on like Howard and McCormick like
there
off
was.
that
there
shopping.
Used to be.
Yeah, it like closed a while ago.
It closed a long time ago. There's one in like is it like Dunning Square? I think, or like way west on Irving Park. There's one.
I don't fucking remember.
I think that one's still open. There's one in Des Plaines that's still open. There's a handful, and like they're like the most depressing department stores nowadays.
Yeah, who the fuck shops at Kmart? Like,
God. Oh god.
I can't even. The last time I even set foot in one was probably about 5 years ago. I don't remember.
I don't know if I've ever been in one.
God, I think we were getting like a canopy for our backyard or something, and they had like a deal. We saw like an ad for Kmart, so I went over there to get one or something like that. I don't remember what it was. God, I remember Kmart in the 90s though. It was actually like it was almost, it wasn't like Walmart. It was like a scaled down Walmart kind of, in a sense. Like it was like almost it was like in the 80s and 90s it was a very successful chain of stores. But nowadays it's
kind of,
it's like a zombie department store almost. It's just, oh god, somebody, I see if I can find this, I'll send it to you guys. Somebody like found like from the early 90s a tape of like Muzak, like just elevator music that would have been played in like a Kmart back in the day.
Yeah.
And it had like recordings for like blue light specials and stuff that was built into it. Like, so it's like if you play that, you're actually like in a department store or something. I'll probably be able to find it. So it's on like SoundCloud or something. I'd probably be able to find it.
All right. Yeah.
God, we just have that on the background while we're doing our show. Like we're in Kmart.
New theme music.
New ambient music. That's basically what it is, just like random, just like really like early 90s ambient music, if I remember right. I listened to it once and it's just like, it's like the most pointless thing to listen to, but it's like, it's a curiosity basically.
This is random, but in Russia, like you hear a lot of kind of like weird elevator music just in random like public places.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, in Russia, do you have, I guess, outlet stores?
Yeah. There's
like, do they have chain?
I don't know if they have like Walmart or anything like that, but yeah, there's like definitely like kind of chain stores. There's one, I forget what it was called. It's like a 3-letter abbreviation or something. It's like a kind of Home Depot kind of store. And they have they have a lot of like stuff you can find in like other cities. Like there's Uniqlo's store. I think there's like 1 or 2 in St. Petersburg and one in Moscow or something. Yeah. They have outlet stores. It's not in Soviet Union anymore. Like.
Yeah. My beer's empty.
Oh.
I'm gonna get another one. I'll be right back. You guys can get something else to drink.
Right.
You guys feel free to keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay. We could switch to international news now.
Go for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone follows international news, there are 20 plus people dead after shooting at technical school in Crimea.
It's a peanut compared to U.S. school shootings.
This one was pretty. I mean, like compared to like how many happened. Yeah, there's more that happened in the U.S. than happened in like Crimea or Russia, Ukraine in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was pretty bad. There was a bomb explosion.
Oh.
He was able to detonate a bomb.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And he like came in with like a huge. It was like these were not like handguns. Like I forget what gun exactly he used.
Were they pipe bombs?
Here, I'm clicking the article now.
That's
more
fucked up.
Details.
What's going on in Russia?
But I mean, this was in Crimea, and Crimea is still an area where there's a lot of tension between Russians and Ukrainians and people who want to be part of the Russian Federation and people who are still upset that Russia annexed or Crimea reunified, depending on how you want to phrase it. Yeah, depending on like, there's still people that are upset that Crimea is Russian territory. The shooter himself was very pro-Putin.
Okay.
I saw screenshots from his Kontakte, which is basically just like the Russian equivalent of Facebook. It's a page that were very sort of pro-Putin. I don't know if you guys ever heard the term Vatnik.
I have, yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, it's basically just like someone who's very rabid Russian nationalist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this guy, he like definitely falls under the Vatnik category.
Yeah.
I mean, would you describe Putin as a fascist? I mean, isn't nationalism a characteristic of fascist philosophy?
I don't know if I'd call Putin a fascist. He's definitely like
A
falls on the more.
neo-fascist.
I don't know if I'd call him any kind of fascist. He's definitely falls on the authoritarian side of leaders. And there's a discussion club called the Valdai Club where Russia invites a bunch of journalists from Western countries and not West. They invite a bunch of just journalists in general,
Including Americans?
Yeah,
Okay.
including Americans. And there's a lot of different discussion topics. And one of the things that I forget where this journalist was from, but he or she asked Putin, do you consider yourself a nationalist? And he said, yes, I do consider myself a nationalist, but I'm the right kind of nationalist. The word in Russian is pravильный, which is like correct, like, so I'm the correct kind of nationalist.
So he considers himself more of a patriot than a particular nationalist in a sense?
He considers himself nationalist, but not the bad kind of nationalist.
Not like authoritarian nationalism?
Yeah, if someone called him like an authoritarian kind of leader, he would say, no, I'm not. But he still considers himself a Russian nationalist, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, what else is going on over in Europe?
Let's see.
Brexit.
Yeah, we said on our last show we're going to talk about Brexit a little bit. Yeah, the EU is agreeing or like ready to extend a longer transition period for Brexit because I believe the transition is supposed to end very soon. Like the period was. Okay. I have to wonder if Brexit is going to happen before, for example, if potentially the Labour Party is going to take power.
It seems like
election.
one of those
Are
things
they
where
going to take power? Is it likely?
If they could, I mean, like politically, it's one of those issues where the can just keeps getting kicked down the road.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And they're like, okay, well, we're gonna wait another few months to make a decision about this, and then the decision that they make is really like not any kind of decision where they're like, okay, we're gonna like.
They're deciding to continue. They're deciding to decide later.
Yeah. I mean that happens in the U.S. like with defaulting and
infrastructure.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Brexit, like, I have to wonder, like, if they were to do another referendum, would the results be different? I mean, I'm not saying that they should do another referendum.
Why not?
I mean, I heard an interview somewhere where, like, someone who voted for Brexit, like, after someone, like, explained to them, like, the sort of consequences and, like, the cutting off of, like, trade from the rest of Europe, they're like, oh, if I had known that, I wouldn't have voted for it. Like,
yeah, wasn't, like, one of the top Google terms after the vote, like, what is Brexit or something?
Oh, God.
Or something like that.
Well, I mean, if it was Google terms coming from, like, other places
I heard it was from
world,
the UK, though.
Oh, God.
I would need to take another look at that, but I remember, like, out of the UK, like, people were asking what exactly is Brexit after the vote happened.
I voted for Brexit, but I don't know what it is, so...
Yeah.
Well, isn't Brexit representative of the political trend in Europe right now of the rise of right-wing?
Yeah. Well, more
groups.
Nationalism.
Yeah, I mean, you have UKIP, for example.
Fascism is on the rise in Europe.
Yeah, and look at what's happening in Poland right now.
Poland, yeah. Even Sweden is saying like we don't want as much immigration or migration as we have.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, with Sweden, I don't want to say I don't support fascism or like I'm not right wing, but I can understand like the sort of anti-immigrant sentiment. They accepted like more people than their infrastructure. Really
that's why like some people. About 10 years ago, people were saying that we need to cut down immigration in the UK because of the energy shortage that was happening during that time. Because they like literally were full in a sense.
Yeah.
Like they were, even if they weren't necessarily overpopulated, they just didn't have like the infrastructure necessary to allow a lot of people to come into the country at once.
Well, the thing about it too is that if they stop the war in Syria, you'll stop the immigration.
To an extent,
Well,
I think. Not
I mean,
entirely.
not everyone who immigrates to Northern Europe is Syrian.
That's true. You have a lot of Lebanese also.
Yeah, and people from other places too.
And yeah.
Well, I mean,
West
like just the
Africa.
Middle East in general.
Yeah.
If we can
I was
stabilize the Middle East, like,
Which, you know, is easier said than done.
Yeah,
Right.
very Herculean task.
Yeah.
I was reading a little bit about, watching YouTube videos too about what's been happening in Yemen the last few years, and it is really, really
yeah.
disturbing.
that's a quagmire.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
totally.
it
It's
certainly is.
Saudi. There's
There's so many people involved.
Iranian-backed rebels and Saudi Arabia supporting the current government, and like if you look at a map, it's a very like fragmented. Like it looks like Iraq and Syria, like the ISIS territories. Did a few years ago. Yeah, I did like look up like Yemen political map or something. I don't
Okay,
know.
I'll pull that up.
But yeah, and then you have Saudi Arabia just like bombing the shit out of civilians, and the U.S. giving military and monetary support to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Okay.
So
here's from,
you know I don't even want to say indirectly, but we're somewhat directly
Yeah.
supporting.
Yep.
We're
war
ignoring
crimes.
it. You know, it's brown people are being involved, so why give a fuck about them?
Yeah, you don't really hear about it very much on CNN or anything like that.
Yeah, we have the. This is from the European Council on Foreign Relations. This is if you go to ecfr.edu/MENA/Yemen.
We can put a link in the
we can put a link up also.
comments or the description.
There are several maps on here based on the expansions. Al Qaeda presence, incidentally, also.
God.
Yeah, it's like sort of like a multi-front kind of thing. Like it's not like two-sided conflict. Yeah, there's a lot of different interests. There's the whole Iraq against Saudi Arabia proxy war thing, and you know the local like Houthis against whatever their government is now, and so it's a kind of a nightmare.
It's a pig fuck.
You're not wrong. Speaking of the Middle East, Khashoggi. I keep wanting to say Adnan Khashoggi because I don't know if they're related, but this is a different. This is what is his first name? Jamal Khashoggi.
Jamal, yeah.
Jamal Khashoggi, yeah. I was the journalist who was suspected. He was disappeared, very much suspected to be murdered.
He was murdered, wasn't he?
That's from,
Jamal Khashoggi.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, most likely.
The Saudi Arabian.
That's what Turkish intelligence say and other sources.
And the fact that it's Saudi Arabia, Trump doesn't necessarily want to outright condemn it because
Trump's those are his business buddies.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He has business interests there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he says canceling the Saudi. He may have become a bit more strong on this. Like, I don't remember exactly when this article is from. It's current as of a couple days ago, but he claimed that canceling Saudi arms deals would be, quote, foolish.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, that's one like Trump just like saying things that aren't true.
He's a populist. I mean,
he exaggerated. He exaggerated the claims of how much those deals would be worth for the U.S. I think he said something like $110 billion, which is like much higher than... That's not chump change, but that's more than like those deals would actually be worth. And the thing is, another one of his arguments was that, you know, if we stop selling them war equipment, then they can just, you know, somehow like buy them for the Russians and Chinese. It doesn't work that way. Because, you know, they have been buying equipments from the U.S., so they're used to like having U.S. like military systems. You know, you can't just like switch. Like it's very much a proprietary thing. So that they wouldn't be able to just like pick up, you know, if like we stop trade with them, like they wouldn't be able to just like pick up like next week and like, you know, all of a sudden start buying up like Russian systems or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, you know, another instance of Trump not telling the truth. But
and you know, if this were any other politician, people would decry them as being soft on Saudi Arabia. But I mean, people are decrying Trump on this. But it's I don't think it's going to hurt him in the long run.
No,
nothing he says.
Nothing has hurt Trump in the long run.
Nothing.
It's like it's been one thing after another.
Like you think the Russ is
surely this will stop Trump
Right,
as
like,
an increasingly nervous
one
man for the
horrible
80th time this year.
the bus is gonna run over him, but he's the bus.
Oh, that's a good way. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Trump
Yeah,
is the
it's kinda
bus
funny.
that you
Yeah.
throw people under.
Yeah.
You can't throw a bus under the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. I never considered it that way, but that's an interesting way of putting it. All right. Is there anything else anybody would like to talk about tonight?
Not really.
That's all. That's last week's outline.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, without any further, I believe we've been on just about an hour and a half. Can you pass me that book, please,
Yeah,
Charlie?
I can do that.
Let's go. Let's wrap this up with the quote of the week, or the quote of the show, or day.
Yeah,
or
quote of
whatever.
the show. Let's call it that.
Quote of the show. Okay, this incidentally is from Sun Tzu's Art of War. This is from Book 2, Waging War. Here we go. Let's see. Where do we start this? Okay. When you engage in actual fighting, if victory is long in coming, then men's weapons will grow dull and their ardor will be damped. If you lay siege to a town, you will exhaust your strength. If the campaign is protracted, the resources of the state will not be equal to the strain. Now, when your weapons are dulled, your ardor damped, your strength exhausted, and your treasure spent, other chieftains will spring up to take advantage of your extremity. Then no man, however wise, will be able to avert the consequences that must ensue. Thus, though we have heard of stupid haste in war, cleverness has never been seen associated with long delays. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. It is only one who is thoroughly acquainted with the evils of war that can thoroughly understand the profitable way of carrying it on. And with that, we conclude this evening's edition of Radio Sheridan. Thanks for joining us.